Mr. Prashant Kumar, the President of the Bar Association of India, Mr. Amarjit Singh Chandyo, the President-elect, Ms. Rachna Srivastava, the Vice President, Mr. Shyam Diwan, the Vice President and President of Law Asia, Mr. Venkatramani, the Attorney General of India, Dr. Anindita Pujari, Vice President of BAI, Amarjit Singh Bedi, the General Secretary, and distinguished members of the legal fraternity, and most especially the awardees. My compliments to the distinguished awardees, Chandra Uday Singh, C.R. Dua, Ms. Farzana, Gaurav Banerjee, Roshan Lal Jain. What a pleasant moment perhaps for all of you to get a recognition from members of our own fraternity. My compliments and congratulations to all five of you. I must, before I begin, tell you of the two vice presidents for whom you are having to suffer my presence in today's event. The first vice president is the senior counsel, Rachna Srivastava, who, after I expressed some difficulty, practically bullied me to attend this Bar Association of India event. The second vice president is Mr. Shyam Diwan, and he doesn't know what his crime is. I happen to have listened to him speak about paying a tribute to the Doyen of the Bar, Fali Nariman, and he spoke of Fali's commanding presence in court just like a star actor in theater or movies. Taking a cue from Shyam, my speech today will have something about lawyers being performers as they do on stage, but for the lawyer, the stage is the setup in the courtrooms. As judge, I'm quite used to addressing lawyers in a different setting, one where I listen and the lawyers who we are gathered to celebrate capture the talk time much more. It is indeed refreshing to be in a room where no one is requesting for an adjournment. It is also a great honor to be speaking to such a distinguished crowd of lawyers. After all, as judges, we do not get to sit in a room where no one charges by the hour. As Thomas Jefferson once remarked, it is the trade of lawyers to question everything, yield nothing, and to talk by the hour. In fact, ours is the only profession where people are impressed by our ability to turn a simple yes or no question into a 3-hour debate. Today we are celebrating Lawyers of India, coinciding with the birthday of Dr. Rajendra Prasad. The court, as you know, hear arguments of lawyers, wise or not so wise, from young and not so young lawyers, some indifferent and occasionally gripping. In fact, every day in court, we witness meticulously prepared performances of lawyers, one that mirrors the artistry of live theater, albeit played out within the solemn confines of a courtroom. While advocating a cause in a courtroom, like a total theater personality, the lawyer becomes the scriptwriter, the lead actor. He's also thinking and strategizing constantly to communicate to the court in the most effective way, balancing his manner and modulation to be both persuasive and respectful. There would certainly be dramatical pauses and the occasional theatrical gestures, leaving us judges wondering how long before this lawyer will wrap up his brief submissions. One can visualize the courtroom as the performing space for lawyers where legends like Nani Palkiwala, Ram Jethmalani, Fali Nariman, Anil Diwan, and so many others thrived and excelled. Last time I saw Anil Diwan was being wheeled into the Akshara Theatre here, welcomed by Mrs. Jalabala Vaidya for a performance. And I have seen other lawyers, the doyen of yesteryear, S.N. Kakkar, I remember, and so many others who take an interest in theatre performance. And as one might visualize, each lawyer in making his submissions does it in his own style, present their rehearsed lines imploringly and reassuringly. And the better ones amongst the lawyers does so with perfect diction and consummate ease. In the court battles, just like the game of fencing, lawyers thirst and parry while dealing with the other side, not to disable or maim them, but to score brownie points from the judges. The lawyers, as one can easily see, are great playwrights and take great pride in their choice of words and expression in making submissions before the court. So much so, I heard Nani Palkiwala describing his chosen words as terms of art, and I've heard it from other lawyers as well. On one occasion, Ram Jethmalani disdainfully suggested that if the contrary interpretation is accepted, it will do great violence to the English language. In the courtroom performance of the arguing counsel, like in theatre, we have the assisting lawyers acting as prompters. Occasionally, we also have, in the shape of an amicus, a Vidushak-like character who is the only medium between the key characters in the case, the storyline, and the audience. Then we have the court masters, who by announcing out loud the item number, pulls up the court screen for the proceedings to begin. Also on display are the light technicians, who focuses on the particular passage of the cited judgment onto the judge's monitor. We must also not forget the spot boys amongst the court's crew, who scurry back and forth carrying books and files into the courtrooms. In all the theatrics, where do the judge figure? If you want to be a bit charitable to the judge, you can describe him as a master of the ceremony or as the play's director. They can also be referred to as the umpire in a game, ensuring a level playing field to secure a just outcome. Those who have a lesser opinion of the judge's role may just call him the person who pulls down the curtain in a case in course of the proceedings, and may also pull down a counsel or two. Talking about performance in court, one must remember few memorable ones of Mr. C.K. Daftari, a really sharp mind, as most of you would know. Once he was appearing in High Court, and opposing him was the doyen Fali Nariman. When Fali had finished his argument, Daftari rose to reply, and being the showman that he was, Daftari coughed, spluttered, and spluttered out, "My learned friend." He then again cleared his throat and again said, "My learned friend," and again uncharacteristically cleared his throat. The presiding judge, showing concern, said, "Mr. Daftari, why don't you sit down and take a sip of water?" Daftari, who was waiting for this very opening, said, "No, no, my lord, nothing wrong with my throat. It is the arguments of my learned friend. I simply can't swallow them." In discourses amongst the legal fraternity, the celebrated case of Keshwanand Bharti is often spoken about. In 1972, Nani Palkiola was arguing before the full court of all 13 judges of the Supreme Court. Midway, Nani grumbled to Daftri that he could barely get to explain a legal proposition without being interrupted by one judge or the other. Daftri, being the good brother, assured Nani that he would do something to prevent the judge's interruption in the next day's hearing. After the weekend rolled by and hearing commenced, there was magical transformation. The judges listened to Palkhiwala without interruption, and Palkhiwala made rapid progress with his argument. The reason for the judges' changed approach was revealed later. Friday evening, Daftri sought an appointment with Chief Justice Sikri. After pleasantries were exchanged, he complimented Sikri that the hearings conducted by them had attracted attention from far and wide. In fact, a little girl had come to see the proceedings with her father and inquired from him as to who that young man was who repeatedly kept interrupting the 13 well-dressed gentlemen. CJI Sikri got the message and conveyed the impression to his benchmates. That is why Palkhiwala was allowed to proceed without any irksome disturbance. This was Daftri's personal contribution to the emergence of the basic structure doctrine in Indian jurisprudence. The performance of lawyers are such that they have often garnered comments of authors and playwrights. I am reminded of Franz Kafka's The Trial, where Kafka critiques the legal system and the frustration and absurdities faced by the protagonist. Joseph K., in a humorous exchange, expressed his frustration with the legal process. He says, "It is like being on a treadmill. My lawyer runs and runs, but gets nowhere." Fali Nariman, who once remarked, "Lawyers in India never retire. They simply drop dead," and proved it himself. He completed his written submission in a constitutional bench matter case late at night before deciding to call on the creator. His performance in court until his last breath must rank amongst the thespians of the legal profession. In courtrooms, we constantly see lawyers showcasing their skills in the dramatic arts. May I therefore conclude by suggesting to the audience the following random names: Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, Jack Nicholson, Amitabh Bachchan, Nasiruddin Shah, also Audrey Hepburn, Meryl Streep, Madhuri Dixit, Shabana Azmi, Sharmila Tagore. My parting question for the BI members is, who amongst the current lot of lawyers can be compared for their courtroom histrionics to any of these legendary actors and actresses? Let there be a feel-good award in your next annual function for the most voted lawyer. Let there be a feel-good award in your next annual function for the most voted lawyer with great theatrical abilities. And I'm sure your incoming President Chandyok would not mind sponsoring such an award. But one caveat, I implore you not to link any of the current judges with any of the great theater or film directors. Thank you.